Yeah, final game in Division 1 Group A was Wexford against Offaly. And an interesting statistic is all three home teams didn't win this weekend in Group A. And if you were going to pick any of the three that you would have thought would have been the most surefire victory, you would have picked Wexford to beat Offaly in Wexford Park. And not only did they not win, they were very lucky not to lose. Offaly were leading in additional time. 2 late points by Lee Chin and Seamus Casey brought the sides back level. Wexford did have a chance to win it from Simon Donoghue, but in the end, it was a game where Wexford could have won it at one stage. They could have pushed on. They were ahead comfortably in the 61st minute by 3 points. And then Offaly were leading in additional time. Wexford had 2 players sent off, Charlie McGuckin and Jack O'Connor, in 2 separate red card incidents. I know you're going to discuss them in just a second. But yeah, weird game. A game that I think both sides could honestly look at and say, we probably could have won that game.
Oh, definitely. And especially Offaly, considering Wexford were down to 30 again. They were ahead. Brian Dylan getting that goal, and they're thinking Offaly could win this game, and they produced very good performances. And what I will say about Offaly, not regarding the game in particular, but Adam Screeney at corner forward, it's great to see him at senior level. I'm so excited to see him in the next few seasons because he's just an exceptional hurler. He came off, or I think he came off in the 52nd minute, but he scored a point. He looked at home like he's just a buzzing hurler. He's just an unreal hurler. I love watching him. In many ways, Charlie Mitchell as well. And Offaly have a very good young team. But the thing is for Offaly, get out of the Joe McDonough. Get to the Liam McCarthy, because that county and that group of players deserve Liam McCarthy hurling. There's no doubt about it. And I think everybody would love Offaly back up at the top table. And they definitely performed well in this game. Wexford were on the ropes, but I think the main thing, like Wexford Westmeath was just a whole other capitulation in the Leinster Championship last year. This game, you could feel sorry for Wexford in many ways because Jack O'Connor's red card, I'm going to say it, Seamus, it's not a red card. And I've looked at it, I've looked at the tapes. It's more like the Offaly player was pulling the guard more than Jack O'Connor was. So if you're going to do it, if you're going to send off Jack O'Connor, send off the Offaly player as well. Like it's
Keith Rossiter said that. Keith Rossiter said both of them should have walked.
Yeah.
Like,
and why didn't
speaking sense?
Oh, it's ridiculous. Again, it brings up the conversation about VAR. But again, it could, if VAR was there, it would have disallowed Sean Watch's goal against Clare. So, like, it's a difficult situation.
In the Premier League, actually. I don't know if you heard that over the weekend. There were chants in the Premier League while a VAR decision was being made. This was at Wolves Stadium at Molineux. Craig Dawson got that goal, and while the VAR check was being done, there was chants in the crowd of like boring, because like it takes ages. The game's completely disturbed. No one really knows what's going on. They're not shown on the screen, so they don't understand what's going on. They don't know what the referee is seeing when they're in the stadium. But yeah, I completely get it. For incidents like that, like one thing I was thinking of as a potential solution is that you only get to go to VAR 3 times in a game or something. You only get 3 incidents, or you only get 2 incidents where you can go to the TMO to be like, okay, we want to check that to see if there's any fouls or anything like that. But then again, it opens up the question about steps and about everything like that. That if there's a hand on the back, even if it wasn't a push, it's entering grey territory. But for something like that, that wasn't a red card.
No, it wasn't. It clearly wasn't. But I'd ask fans that don't want VAR and things like that and complain about referees' decisions, and they do the same thing simultaneously. What I will say, what game would you want in the GA? Would you want a game with VAR or without VAR where you criticise the referees nearly every week?
Yeah.
That's a genuine question, because there's a lot of people complaining about referees saying the start referee should referee a game again. But then when the VAR conversation crops up, they say, oh no, this will be a boring game. Everything will be stopped. And yeah, that's the thing. But what I will say, GA can do it less like soccer and more like rugby. I know this weekend, this is a rugby incident now, but Scotland's try caused a lot of controversy online. Should have probably been a try. But the TMO disallowed it, and they said it wasn't a try because it was inconclusive evidence. But largely, more than often, the rugby TMO gets it right. Because people could see it in the stadium. They could see if that's a goal or that's a point or whatever in the GA circles. So why can't the GA do it like rugby? So that's maybe a way to go around things. But as I said about Offaly, I think the fact that Wexford were down to 13 men, I think they'll be kicking themselves more that they didn't win this game. And the fact that Wexford, they drew against Kilkenny, they drew against Offaly while being down to 13 men. Look, it is a disaster for Keith Rossiter. It was just a bad game, really, to go down to 13 men in this game. And then against Kilkenny, they produced a good performance. But Wexford need to be very more consistent in many ways, because they're almost like the hurling version of Kildare and Cork footballers. Because they raised their game for Kerry and with Cork and Kildare, they raised their game for Dublin, Kerry, whoever. With Wexford, they raised their game for Kilkenny, Galway, Tipperary, Limerick, or whoever. But then against sides like Westmeath, Offaly, Laois, they capitulate. And that has to stop from a Wexford point of view. But look, I'll give them a bit of slack considering they were down to 13 men in this game, and especially in the last few minutes while they were down to 13 men, to grab it back through Lee Shin and Seamus Casey. That's commendable, in fairness.
You know, it is. And look, it was one of those games where it felt like for a while for Wexford, like whatever could have gone wrong was going wrong for them. Like the 2 red cards early on, one of them extremely harsh. Like it was that feeling of a bit of a pandemonium. And then for Offaly to push 117 to 18 ahead going into injury time, like they would have felt like they should have won that game. And I don't know if they'll get a better chance, to be honest. But I do think, remarkably, Wexford need to have a little bit more of the ingredient just of like consistency, just be that good, because you're right that the last few years now they've lost to Dublin but then beaten Kilkenny, and Dublin go and get whipped by Kilkenny, and you're wondering like, how on earth did Dublin beat them but Kilkenny can't beat them? Like things like that, where Wexford's ceiling, I think, is a lot higher than we've seen. It is the 2019 year where they won Leinster and got to All-Ireland semi-final. That's the ceiling of that team. And I think they could even get to an All-Ireland final. I don't think they could beat Limerick in an All-Ireland semi-final or an All-Ireland final as of right now. There's some cracking players coming through, the likes of Keane Byrne, Corey Dunbar. Like, there's some cracking players there for Wexford coming through. But yeah, I'm very interested. And Keith Rossiter is a good coach. I like how he's going about this, with the Wexford team, winning the Walsh Cup, good performance away against Kilkenny. This is a bit of a blip, but I'm expecting a better performance from them next week. Anyway,